It's Wednesday, 20 April, year of our Lord, 2022. You're in the battleground, and we got to get rolling. We got a lot to get through tonight. It's a historic day. Want to immediately go to Anthony Sabatini. Anthony has joined us many times to get us up to date on Florida, but big things happen today. My co-host, Boris Epshteyn, will be with me for the hour. We are going to go through the 60 Days of Pain calendar of these brutal primaries that are coming up. We're going to get to all of that with Boris. We got Dr. Maria Ryan, the one and only Dr. Maria Ryan is going to join us. But first to Florida and Anthony Sabatini. Anthony, I got to tell you, when you guys, men and women, start rolling down in Florida, you roll. A special session was called to get this map sorted out that you had been at the lead of fighting and to make sure it was a fair map based upon the census and it was fair to everybody. And in doing that, you called the governor called a special session. You were one of the guys at the forefront of that, said we got to do this right away. And on top of it, Desantis says, hey, while we're here, why don't we have a discussion about since I'm calling a special session and everybody's coming back, why don't we have a full and frank discussion about Disney and the parents of Florida? Anthony Sabatini, what happened today, sir?
Well, you're exactly right, Steve. It truly is a historic day in the state of Florida. We're up here for a special session to pass a great set of congressional maps, which creates a fair playing field, which the left absolutely hates. And what did the governor do? He said, we're going to amend our special session to take on the biggest, most woke company in the state of Florida, Disney World. So we added a new bill. The governor added a bill to the calendar yesterday. We literally passed it out of the Florida Senate today. I'll vote and pass it out of the Florida House tomorrow. And I expected him to sign it this week. It's a crackdown on a special tax privilege that the company Disney has had here in the state of Florida for over 50 years. It was a special tax incentive that allowed them to basically be tax-free and to self-govern and basically have different types of privileges that other companies and small businesses here in Florida have never had. And so they thought they could fight against the governor and our pro-parent, pro-family agenda in the political and legal spheres without any repercussions, and we're fighting back. So this bill is going to be signed into law, and I can imagine that the executives of Disney really are just having a complete and total mental breakdown at this point because they never thought that this governor was going to fight like hell, and that's exactly what he's doing. So really, really proud about that. And the fact that we're doing it in the same week that we're wiping out the Democrat lead in congressional redistricting, it just shows that we're at a whole new level in the MAGA movement. And the Republican Party is going in a new direction, a much, much more pro-offense direction.
I just want people to go back. I'm talking 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago, you had all this, it looked like the whole woke corporation, Hollywood, everybody, when the Academy Awards were coming down on, and right before then, we're coming down on the parents about this parents' rights bill. We're coming on to Desantis, guys like Sabatini, other men and women that were supporting this in the legislature, coming down on the parents and, Disney and all this woke. And you had legislatures up there, these rhinos that essentially were happy with a 14-14 map, but, might have been 16, 12, something like that. And in 4 weeks, and it's not just the scale of what you've done. Now a 20-8 map that, Anthony, I would actually argue maybe even a 21-7 map, but also, you're about to pass out of the House tomorrow something that just unwinds this whole unfair treatment, how Disney's had everything in their favor in Florida for years and just kind of treated like a fiefdom. That's been in 4 weeks. I mean, it's not just the scale of what you guys have done. It is the speed and alacrity of what you've done. You didn't need, I want everybody to understand this. Ron DeSantis and Anthony Sabatini, the other men and women on it, they didn't need to go poll this. They didn't need to hire a bunch of consultants and do this. They didn't need to go raise a bunch of money and run ads this. They didn't need to focus group this. They knew what was right and what was wrong, and they did it. This is a lesson for everybody, and this is what leadership is about. This is what the House in Tennessee, and we're going to have the Speaker of Tennessee on, I think, on Monday morning next week to do it. This is leadership. This is not about being popular. This is about doing what's right. This is doing what you're elected to do. They didn't need a focus group it. They didn't need to take out a bunch of ads. They didn't need to go around donors and raise a bunch of money. They didn't need to sit there and hire consultants and do analysis and do studies. Bang. This is what the map should be. How about this? And this is what we should do with Disney, the largest corporation in Florida, one of the biggest corporations in America. Remember, Disney also owns, I think, ESPN, ABC. I think they actually own the Fox Broadcasting, not Fox News. This is a massive, if not the most powerful media and entertainment company out there, certainly in the top 2 or 3. We don't need to hire consultants. We don't need to focus group. We don't need to really, spend any time. We know what's right. We know what's wrong, and we're going to do it. Sabatini, how did this whole thing get turned around? This is a whole new dynamics in politics. How did this come together?
Well, I got to tell you, a lot of it has to do with the changing party. The party's expecting real leaders, real fighters, people who understand going on offense. And we have a governor here in Florida, and there's a few of us in the legislature who listen to that and want to rise to the occasion. We have tried to set up a new blueprint here where when the left attacks, we attack back twice as hard. Disney thought they had us in a corner. They thought, oh, we'll turn the media, we'll corporations against conservatives, put them in a corner, start a media narrative and see if they'll cower down, break down, and moderate their views. Instead, we turned around and we ripped away special tax privileges, special legal privileges that they had under the law. Same with the congressional maps. They tried to start a false theory that we had to create these very liberal congressional maps, and some of the weaklings in the state legislature were pushing these types of bad maps that would have been good for the Democrat Party. And the governor said, no, we're not doing that. We're going to go and we're going to fix the situation and create a set of maps that's best for the country. And he went against the narrative in both cases. And I think, like you pointed out, rose to the occasion and started a new blueprint of how we fight and win, by the way. The people are with us. They don't want this anti-parent agenda that Disney's pushing. They want people to stand up and protect family rights and stand with the working class of Florida. And that's what we're doing here. And the reason it happened so quickly is because the left doesn't understand where we're at right now. People are really angry in this country, and they're tired of the wimps in the Republican Party. They're tired of the old-style Republican leaders that always gave in every single time. They want fighters, and they award fighters. If you stand up and fight, people are going to take notice, and they're going to support you, just like I've been supported in my election. So that's why we're doing it, and that's why these leaders in Florida, I think, are looking at things differently than the Republicans used to.
One last thing. I think today also some discussion about weeding out the books to make sure that when we want to get our math literacy up, we want to get our math knowledge up for the kids. We want to get literacy up, reading skills up. Was it 41% of the books, I think, have been rejected because they think they got ideology in it and not just teaching math? Tell me about that for a second.
That's exactly right. So, here we are in Florida trying to buy actual, real textbooks to help kids to learn math, to learn real education, none of this woke stuff. And what do we find? We find that they have critical race theory and all types of wokeism inserted in the children's textbooks. So once again, like a real leader, Desantis in the state of Florida have decided not to go with the flow and just, accept these books and complain about it later and point the finger at somebody else and say, gee, golly, there's nothing we can do. We here in the state of Florida have rejected those books, and we're not going to be accepting contracts. We're not going to be going with any kind of wokeism that corporations want to try to push here in the state of Florida. So if textbook manufacturers want to include critical race theory in textbooks, they're not going to find consumers in the state of Florida. So I'm very, very proud of the governor for rejecting those books. And this is going to help exacerbate the market for non-woke textbooks. They have consumers here. We're the third biggest state. We want a different kind of book here in Florida.
Captain Bannon, we're going to put up to get to Desantis and the speaker and everybody that we had people call to make sure they got on board with the right map to say thank you. But Sabatini, I want you. How do people get in contact with you, find out more about you, but particularly thank you for all your efforts in this, sir?
Well, it's SabatinyForCongress.com is the website, and I'm on every social media platform from Getter and Gab to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and everything else at Anthony Sabatini.
And you believe, Anthony, right now the Disney part will pass out of the House tomorrow. When do you expect to be signed up at the redistricting in Disney? What's your anticipation?
So I think it's going to pass on a party line vote. I don't know a single Republican that's voting down on it. So it'll be a party line vote, which is a big majority here in the state of Florida tomorrow. I think the governor might even sign this on Friday. If anything, at the beginning of the week. I think the congressional maps are going to be signed immediately because we got to get those to the Secretary of State to initiate everything related to the election. But I think the Disney's bill will be signed very, very quickly also.
Sabatini, fight on. Great work. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Know the word posse does.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you and your audience.
Thank you, sir. Boris, I want to bring in part of this is, and I think this shows you the shifting demographics of the country. Remember, Boris, let's go back to ancient history of 2016, of how you and I, President Trump, all of us were sweating Florida and had to be Florida and Ohio. Remember, if we get those two, everything else can fall in place, but those are the two key. And look at Ohio. But Florida, particularly after the Biden illegitimate steal, a lot of people, the great state of Florida, even started to take more of the Trump movement people. But I got to tell you, I can't say enough about the audience and the people down there having these people's back. Boris, you've been doing this for a long time. I know you're a Wall Street guy and a lawyer, but you've gotten into politics, the last really hardcore ever since President Trump, 14, 15. Have you ever seen anything this momentous move this quickly? It's the scale and the speed that grabs me, man. No focus groups, no consultants. We don't need any of that. Bang, bang, bang. Boris Epshteyn.
Steve, this is great. I'm down in Florida right now, and as we've talked, I'm being stopped on the street. I'm being stopped in restaurants. People tell me they're all about the War Room Posse. They're proud to be part of MAGA, and they're proud to be under the leadership of President Trump. That's what it's all about. And yes, Florida is now the epicenter of MAGA country. Of course, President Trump is here, and you've got so many of the luminaries, MAGA luminaries who are here in Florida, and you've got to give a ton of credit to Ron DeSantis. He's coming in hot. He's coming in strong. He's not taking any steps back. He's got his back fully up, and he's been unbelievable both on redistricting and on fighting against woke Disney. I've been seeing some of this. This is Republicans going after corporations. This is so wrong. They're hypocrites. That is bullshit, okay? And I'm sorry if there's an outlet that I'm not supposed to say that word in, but that is nonsense, okay? Because when a corporation tries to go woke, to go radical, and to run a state, which is what Disney is trying to do, right? They're saying we have more power than the duly elected members of the legislature of Florida or the MAGA governor of Florida. Well, when the corporation does that, it is no longer a traditional business. It is now overstepping its boundaries. And when it does so, it should get exactly the treatment it's getting. And I love what's happening. I love to see Governor DeSantis giving so much pushback. And yes, stripping Disney of its special privileges, special exemptions that they shouldn't have anyway. They shouldn't have them because they are wrong. Disney is wrong. Disney has gone woke. And by the way, it's been going woke for a long time. I've talked about the ridiculous disclaimers they've got on some of their cartoons now. It's like Aladdin is all wrong. You should be watching it, but here's what it is anyway. They ruined Star Wars. They've ruined Marvel. They've been going woke in content, and now they're going woke in politics. The American people won't stand for it. It's a big day for MAGA.
I want to say also something about some of the holdovers in the Bush faction and the McCain faction and the Never Trump faction. Just a reality check. You have you have Tennessee that's stepping up and taking leadership in MAGA. You have Florida that's taking leadership in MAGA. You have Texas that's taking leadership in MAGA, although maybe some recalcitrant elements there, the Bush elements. You got Georgia, Arizona, right, and Ohio, who are great MAGA states. The only thing holding those back is you've also got these rhinos from Ducey to Kemp to the rhinos up in Ohio with overwhelmingly powerful MAGA states. If you look at the states of the union, please show me a Democratic state. Now, California and New York, and you know this better than anybody, in Illinois, are losing population. They're losing momentum. They don't have any drive. They don't have any cutting edge. We are on the ascendancy here. And I got to tell you, where you got big MAGA states, and maybe it's not at the top of the leadership, is not because of the people, the MAGA movement. It's because you still got some holdover of these Bush people. But my point is, when you look at how it could all come together, ladies and gentlemen, the great free state of Florida shows you how it's done. And I think in Tennessee,
and Steve,
this is just, it's breathtaking.
It's free.
Go ahead,
It's free and it's inclusive, right? Florida represents exactly what we're doing as MAGA. We've got unbelievable support from Hispanic Americans, African Americans, Jewish Americans. And Tennessee's got that too. I will tell you something that happened the last 24 hours I'm unbelievably disappointed in. In Tennessee, State Senator Frank Nicely has now made this issue about Morgan Ortagus, about her being Jewish, and has attacked her, attacked Jared Kushner, attacked Ivanka Trump, and saying, oh, it's just this Jewish, just the Jews who care about Morgan Ortagus' candidacy. That is wrong. No matter what you think about the residency requirement, whatever it is, that's for Tennessee to figure out, okay? But to say that this somehow the Jews are controlling the vote and controlling endorsements, that is nonsense. So to Frank Nicely, you're an embarrassment. You're an embarrassment to MAGA. If you got a problem with Jews, you know my Twitter account, you know my Getter account. They're both at Boris EP. Give me a shout. I'll put you in your place.
Yeah, that's totally uncalled for. I think the Ortegas thing is totally unrelated to that. It's obviously the Tennessee folks are talking about. They're talking about residency and being from Tennessee. Although I think it would be nice if that stuff was always it'd always be nice if that was defined a little sharper in advance. But they'll work out that.
And not like a couple of months before an election, right? But hey, I guess to some of these old timers, and by the way, there's a ton of that on the left. There's no doubt about it. But some of these old timers probably used to be a Democrat, whatever. Let's make it all about the Jews. That is unacceptable. And it goes to the same idiots, the Nick Fuenteses of the world, who are trying to come after the War Room and the War Room posse for being a wide open spectrum and saying MAGA is growing, because that's what we need to do. So that's something that came up today. I wanted to point out. As we're celebrating the big wins in Florida, we get to wins by having an inclusive MAGA movement.
Remember, if people say, hey, you have to have a Big Ten, it's additive. That's always been a code word for we got to have DACA and amnesty. We got to have all these watered down policies. No. People want the hardcore policies. We're an inclusive nationalism. And we're participatory populism. That's what we got them on their back foot right now. This is going to have a huge amount of working class Hispanics and middle class Hispanics. This is going to have a huge amount of working class and middle class African Americans. We're going to dominate in the Chinese American and the Asian American community, right? Wherever you're religious, Jewish, Catholic, Christian, hardcore evangelical, traditional Catholic. We'll even take some backsliders. Some of you Catholics that are backsliders, right? We'll take one and all. Everybody's welcome. And it's a big tent, not around soft policies, around tough policies. This is what's happening. Think about it for a second. A sitting Republican governor, because a big movement had his back, was able to take on a corporation that for decades and decades and decades, the Republican Party has been giving just tax breaks and deregulation, and they flipped on you. The biggest problem we have in wokeism right now is the corporations. So that's why it's such a big day as far as scale goes. But Boris, I couldn't agree with you more. The reason that Robert Reich and all these guys are freaked out, MSNBC's freaked out, is that it's inclusive nationalism, participatory populism, and they can do the math just like we can, and they know we're coming for us. Let's bring in one of our
real quick, just 5 more seconds. It's not about your background; it's about your standing. It's about your policies, right? And I saw this when I was head of the Jewish Coalition for the President in 2020. The reason we had the highest Jewish vote for any Republican president in Florida, we were at 42% in 2020, is because, yes, we are never taking a step back on policies. We are not for soft positions. We're for coming in hot and coming in hard, okay? But it doesn't matter where you come from, what your background is, what your ethnicity or religion is. You are welcome as long as you agree with us on those hardcore, strong policies. That's what MAGA is all about.
I got to tell you, one person that helped us with the Jewish community down there was Rudy Giuliani, the mayor. I mean, there's not a better, tougher warrior about the defense of Israel, and we're all for the defense of Israel. Let's bring in Dr. Maria Ryan. Dr. Ryan, I asked you to come on today with your expertise in healthcare. There's a whole Democrats are now the Democrats are at Biden's throat, particularly just as Boris, just some random senators in places like Arizona and in Nevada and in New Hampshire, people that are up in this cycle saying, hey, this Title 42, are we sure we got a plan here? Well, they've got a plan. They've already thought through. They're going to rip this thing off. They're lining up people starting tomorrow. We're going to have the whole team, Todd Bensman, Burkholm, everybody, about as they line up to start crossing. It will start tomorrow, although it doesn't go off to the 23rd. Remember, we just had a record, 221,000 just took off across the border this past month, a record in March. Dr. Maria Ryan, how big a healthcare problem, how big a problem we're going to have with lifting Title 42, and how, particularly as half-baked as the Biden administration is doing it.
Well, it's great to be on War Room again. It's great seeing you, Steve. Title 42 has not been followed for months. I'm sure that doesn't surprise you. As you look at the busloads of people being dropped off in Texas, West Chesterfield, even Governor Abbott sending people to Washington, D.C., it's all young men, not seeking asylum. They're not coming from a war-torn country. And so it hasn't been followed for a while. It may shock you to hear that I don't think Title 42 has anything to do really with COVID. The pandemic is in our rear view mirror. I think why many politicians do not want it to be lifted is because we need some kind of control at the border, because we don't have any control. And the fentanyl, the real health crisis is actually the fentanyl deaths. Fentanyl deaths between the ages of 18, 45, and 45 outpace deaths in that same age group for COVID, motor vehicle accidents, and cancer. The CDC just today lowered that age to 13. That's how many deaths we're seeing. And now our young Americans, our young teenagers are seeing it and feeling it. They're going on social media. They order a Percocet on Snapchat, and it's laced with fentanyl in the smallest amount, because it is 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine, will kill you. And this is an epidemic that has been ignored by our administration. The deaths in the seizures of fentanyl. So we've had record number of seizures by our great border agents. And just in Orange County, I think they only got 13 pounds. Well, you think, well, 13 pounds can't be a heck of a lot. It was enough to kill 4.7 Americans. And that's just from our seizures. There's so much more that's being trafficked across that southern border. And that's the real health crisis right now.
Hang on, you're making my head blow up. Go back to the CDC thing. What did they? Because we just had the CDC. We just had CDC in the last segment where they had this whole community, whole person, whole school, and at the top they're making sure all the words are gender neutral in the middle of a pandemic. They took the age from 18 to 45 or 49, and they lowered it 5 years. Why did they lower it in the range 5 years?
Let me tell you. So we know from statistics in autopsy reports that the leading cause of death was between 18 and 45 was fentanyl death. We knew that. And we knew that was the number one cause of death. Now it's lowered to 13. Just today, the CDC came out with their data saying, you know what? It no longer starts at 18. The leading cause of death from 13 to 45 is fentanyl overdoses. Not COVID-19, not cancer, not motor vehicle accidents. This is an epidemic of epic proportions. I'm not trying to be melodramatic, but it is very serious. The ingredients come from China, our enemy, China, who started the whole COVID-19. So those ingredients come from China, and they work with the Gulf cartel and the many other cartels who mix it, put it in their drugs, and then traffic it into the United States. So we have a national crisis. Oh, yep.
We got about 2 minutes. You ran a rural health, health services, a hospital group, all that in rural Vermont, I think it was, or New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
What's the solution from your New Hampshire? From your perspective, what's the solution here? What's to be done?
I want a moratorium at the border. I know I'll probably never get that, but I think we need to catch up. We need to see who we've let in the country. This is beyond health, although if you count anxiety of potential terrorists coming across the border, that is a health issue. But we need to catch up, see who's exactly coming to our country, where are they, making sure they come to their court dates, and let's catch up before we let anybody in. But we need strict border control, which we do not have.
Dr. Ryan, how do people get to your and Rudy's? You got the number one show on Sunday mornings on WABC. Rudy's got his afternoon show on WABC. You got the podcast. How do people get to you on social media?
On social media, I'm on Getter, and I love Getter. Those are my people. I'm at Dr. Maria on Twitter at Maria Ryan N8, and my website, drmariaryan.com. And I love it. I love it that we're number one, Yanni and I, uncovering the truth. People are hearing the news that affects them and the issues that have been censored. They can hear it on Uncovering the Truth every Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, WABCradio.com.
It's not WABC, the premier flagship of talk radio in the country. They're the number one Sunday morning talk show. And by the way, I love me some Rudy, but I think Dr. Maria Ryan makes that a special show. Dr. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us here on War Room Battleground.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, Boris Epshteyn, Stephen K. Bannon. Stay through the break. We got a bunch of big stories on the other side in the Battleground.
War Room Battleground with Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back in the Battleground. By the way, that was a shocking announcement by CDC today, and we're going to get more details on that. Dr. Maria Ryan breaking it here. CDC, the leading cause of death now for 13 to 49-year-old is fentanyl, and it's the opium war. Remember, the Chinese Communist Party worked with the cartels to get that across the border. Of course, when you got illegitimate regime like Joe Biden's, and this is the regime, its first article of impeachment after we take power in the sweeping victory in November. But when we take power in January of 2023, and when the process starts on the investigation, the hearings, and the impeachment of Biden, he is going to get impeached. But it's going to be for real reasons, not made up phony reasons like President Trump. The first is going to be the initiation and exacerbation of a invasion on our southern border. And this whole fentanyl issue is going to come up. But to have a country such as this, a country like ours, that the leading cause of death of 13-year-olds to 45-year-olds is fentanyl. I got to tell you, we got so much work to do. We're going to get it done, but we got a lot of work to do. And I know one of the parts of the country that we got to get the work done is the great state of Missouri, which is Trump country, but you wouldn't know it by the state legislature or the governor there, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves. The folks in Missouri have been fighting for this on this redistricting. It's absolutely outrageous. Look at the leadership in Tennessee. Look at the leadership in the free state of Florida. I mean, why are there? There's no difference really than the states of the support for the Trump movement, of the support for the MAGA movement, of the support of the deplorables, of the support of the America First movement. Missouri is one of the great bastions of the Trump movement. There's just no doubt about it. And yet its leadership is in places like Ohio the same way. You see it there. Places like Arizona, you see it down there. Places like Georgia. Not like Tennessee, not like Florida, not like what Texas is getting to, right, more and more. So we got to clean up these rhinos. Kyle LaBrue is running in Missouri for Congress, and I got to tell you, if we're going to pick up 100 seats and set things right, we need to get people that are MAGA. Kyle, walk us through why are you throwing your hat in the ring? Why are you jumping into politics like this, particularly at a time when it's all about the politics of personal destruction? Why have you decided now to run for the House seat down there? Okay, does he have his mute on? Because we can't hear him. Kyle, do you have your mute on? Okay, if we can't sort that out, we got Kyle LaBrue. Why don't we just go to Julie Kelly if we can't get Kyle LaBrue? We're going to get Kyle LaBrue is running in Missouri 4. May have a technical problem in getting him. If not, can we get Julie Kelly up? Okay, we have Julie. Hey, Julie Kelly, you with us?
I am. My audio is always on.
Hey.
Always working.
You're always
running
on,
hot.
baby. Always running, coming in hot. Julie Kelly, you and Liz Yore, my two tough broads from Chicago. Okay, here's what I don't understand. We had this, and Julie Kelly, I was thinking about you because over the weekend I had some time to get some additional reading caught up, and I because of your inspiration, ma'am, I got Bill Barr's memoirs. Okay, Bill Barr's memoirs, and it's shocking. He doesn't say anything, nothing. He mentions Whitmer earlier in the book about in the spring of 2020 about the mandates and some things she was doing the mandates. There is not one word, one sentence, one paragraph, one comma, period, or whatever, or a letter. It's not even a letter on anything related to what DOJ and the FBI did here. Man, his book, by the way, he should know this because he's so proud of the book. He's Walter Mitty. He's some big hero. It's done all this from the dude. You are a wimp and a loser. And I got to tell you, that book's going to be used as evidence against you. Okay. Why did you not have one thing in the book about the Whitmer situation? Why did DOJ is all over this? FBI is all over this. You knew about it. Do you expect us to think that they had all the technology, all the logistics, everything they were doing on this, right? And you didn't know about it. In fact, that you didn't sign off on it, that you didn't approve it, and you don't have the courage and the guts to have one sentence in your book about it? Not one. Bill Barr, Julie, why are these people, the hung jury couldn't find it, let a bunch of folks off, couldn't find the other guys guilty? Why are they still hanging out there? Why is Justice Department not either retried them or let them go? Tell us what's going on, ma'am.
Well, one quick thing, though, back to Bill Barr. During the Whitmer trial, 2 FBI agents testified under oath that, yes, the main justice would have known about this caper. Because recall, Steve, they called this one of their biggest domestic terror investigations ever. It involved numerous FBI field offices in a number of states in the eastern half of the country. You have to get sign authority, we were told during the trial, to use drones and airplanes and pay all of these informants. How did Bill Barr not know about it? It's absolutely inconceivable to think that Bill Barr never knew, that Christopher Wray never briefed him on it. It just makes no sense. And the fact that he didn't even bring it up in his book actually sort of raises the question, how much was he involved and why is he completely ignoring it? Why did he ignore this ongoing investigation? 6-month investigation during under his reign in 2020. So, but where we are now,
the book. Hang on. The book is terrible. And the book, the lies he tells about the election fraud, the lies he tells about misleading President Trump. This book is, I would tell to Bill Barr, preserve your documents, okay? But I want to go back here and just make sure the audience understands. This was and about the government's involvement, Julie, at every level. This was a kidnapping of a sitting governor. And ladies and gentlemen, this story came out on, I think, October 20th. This dominated the airways of these Trump militias, these Trump white nationalists. This is white nationalist hate. They got to take this female governor who is going to be a vice presidential candidate. They're going to kidnap her. They're going to assassinate her in the most brutal way possible, right? And desecrate her body. They also mess around with weapons of mass destruction. And, oh, by the way, they're going to storm the Capitol and take over the government of Michigan. Julie Kelly, this was not a small thing that they were charged with because the government's in there building up this massive case. Julie Kelly.
And keep in mind, Stephen, I wrote about this last week. There was a separate kidnapping kill attempt by the FBI to put together against Virginia Governor Ralph Northam. The same FBI agents, handlers, and main informant responsible for the Whitmer hoax also tried to do the same, set up a poor man in his late 60s, a disabled Vietnam vet, to try to get him the culpable for trying to kidnap and assassinate Ralph Northam. So the idea, again, that Bill Barr didn't know about this for 7 months, he never even mentions it in his book. He's never been asked about it, of course, because his book tour predated these stunning verdicts where 2 men were outright acquitted after the defense attorneys argued successfully that the FBI entrapped them. And now you have these other 2 men who their verdicts resulted in a hung jury mistrial, but it looks like DOJ is going to try to re-prosecute these two men to try to save face. And I just don't see any way that this government is going to be able to do that. And then yesterday, one of the two main prosecutors who handled the 3-week trial, he withdrew from the case. So just another wrinkle there.
Why do you think they're going to be re-prosecuted? What leads you to come to that conclusion?
Because there are 8 other men facing state charges. So there were 6 men who faced federal charges, 8 who are facing state charges. Their charges are aiding and abetting a domestic terrorism. Well, when you've got the domestic terrorism case not only imploded, but represents an egregious example of FBI entrapment, how are state prosecutors and Dana Nessel, the Democratic Attorney General and BFF of Gretchen Whitmer, how are they going to continue that trial? So they've really created quite a mess for themselves. But as of right now, and of course the verdict came down on April 8th, as of right now, DOJ has not refiled any charges against the remaining 2 defendants, Adam Fox and Barry Croft Jr.
What is Whitmer's response? This is kind of a humiliation for her, for the simple fact that she went out like Joan of Arc. I mean, she got the big crocodile tears. She was going to be kidnapped. She's going to be captured. She helped the FBI, et cetera, as part of this surveillance. This was her big thing. This was going to take her to the national level. This was going to be one of her things, her springboard to the presidency. How's that working out for her, ma'am?
Not good, but it's actually very amusing because she wrote a victim impact statement for one of the trials, not this one, but I believe one of the state trials, about how this really upended her life. Of course, she knew about it because the FBI also testified during the trial that her house was under surveillance. They had installed pole cameras and other devices around her property. It was constantly surveilled, so she had to have known about it. But she actually came out her office after the verdicts, these stunning verdicts were read, and said that these white supremacist militia groups are getting away with what they tried to do with her, and really denounced this verdict of 12 of her constituents, by the way. So she is wants to continue propagating this hoax. Now, Steve, if the FBI tried to do this against you and me, and it all came out not only in the court filings, but also during the trial, exactly what they did, using you as a political prop, wouldn't you be outraged? But instead of her being outraged, the FBI put this together and put her in the middle of it, really potentially threatening her life, but now she's actually mad that 12 of her constituents saw right through this FBI plot and found 2 of the men not guilty and couldn't reach a conclusion on the other 2.
By the way, I just want to break, Disclose TV is breaking news. Just in, U.S. Capitol issues alert, evacuate now, aircraft intrusion. The U.S. Capitol Police is tracking an aircraft that poses a probable threat to the Capitol complex. I want my team to break in at any time if that, of what's going on. Pretty disturbing news coming out of there. Anything else on the January 6th? Any updates on the political prisoners of January 6th, Julie Kelly?
I have a piece up right now about the case of Ethan Nordine, a Proud Boy who committed no violent crime on January 6th. He walked into an open set of doors with Capitol Police standing right there. He had no weapon. He didn't attack anyone. He has been imprisoned for over a year because of Judge Timothy Kelly, a Trump-appointed judge who not only has kept Ethan Nordine and other Proud Boys, also not accused of any violent crime, only conspiracy to attack the Capitol, kept him behind bars. Judge Kelly last week vacated their May 18th trial date because DOJ added a defendant, added actually 2 new defendants, threatened that they might add new charges. And of course, Judge Kelly, like every D.C. District Court judge, including the Trump-appointed ones, are going along with DOJ, letting them say that they're not prepared for trial, which they're not, blow through their discovery deadlines. And now someone like Ethan Nordine will be imprisoned indefinitely, possibly for nearly 2 years before he has a chance to go to trial. This is just one more tragic story about this vengeful, abusive prosecution under Joe Biden's regime.
Prosecutorial abuse. Julie, how do people follow you? How do they get to your book? How do they do it? Because your material is a must read over at American Greatness, but also your Getter feed and Twitter feed?
So my work is at American Greatness, amgreatness.com. I am at Twitter, Julie_Kelly2. I'm at Getter at Julie_Kelly. And my book, January 6th, can be bought on Amazon, also Barnes & Noble.
Julie Kelly, the great Julie Kelly, thanks you so much for joining us here in the War Room.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I want to get to Kyle LaBrue in a second, but Boris, I got to bring you in just on the Bill Barr of it. I did read Bill Barr's memoirs over the weekend, and I recommend you can skip 9/10 of it because it's all happy talk about him with the Bush administration. But it's Boris, you're just on a roll to get us fined this week, aren't you? Tell me about particularly Barr in this situation with Whitmer. How does he write a memoir, sir? How big this thing was and not even mention it? Is that a tell to you?
Of course, to tell. The whole thing's a lie. It's on. I'm sorry. Don't mean to offend anyone. Don't mean to upset anybody. The whole thing's a lie, and it's not a memoir. It's a work of fiction. Bill Barr is a joke. Bill Barr should have been prosecuting the Russia hoax. He should have been prosecuting the wiretapping of candidate and then President Trump. He should have gone after the Steele dossier. He should have protected MAGA. He did none of it. Absolutely none of it. Bill Barr is an embarrassment. He's always the hero of his own story. And by the way, you know what his biggest flaw is? We all know what it is. Bill Barr did nothing to secure the election, the stolen election of 3 November. Bill Barr did nothing to secure it before. He did nothing to fight for integrity after. And he said there was a report. He lied to President Trump and he lied to the American people. Bill Barr is a liar.
Yeah, we're going to dig down on that after we take power in January. Let's bring in to take power. We got to win a bunch of seats here. Let's bring about Missouri 4. I think we worked out technical problem with Kyle LaBrue. Kyle, in an era, thank you for joining us, sir, in an era of the politics of personal destruction, why would a guy like you jump into the ring here and try to run for Congress?
Well, you look around America right now, Steve, and, people are looking for leaders. They're looking for people to put their shovel in the ground and make things happen. They're tired of seeing invisible Republicans time and time again not represent them. So I'm here to put my shovel in the ground, to be the voice of the 4th District, and to actually do what I say I'm going to do and be a representative of the people. I want to be the one that speaks up, even if it's not the popular thing in the media. I want to be the one to say what needs to be said.
Kyle, let me ask you, in Missouri, you can't get bigger Trump country, but there's a lot of, particularly in your state legislature, and I realize there aren't federal offices, but there's a lot of leadership in Missouri that benefits from the Trump movement, benefits from President Trump, but doesn't really support him. And I'm using this map of the district, which I know that you got to know about because of your running for Congress. Why does it seem like the MAGA movement is on fire in Missouri, but you got a bunch of leaders that are rhinos? How does that work?
Well, I think for a lot of years now, people have just kind of skated by because it was just business as usual at our local level here. But we have something locally here that's interesting. People say, man, there's a lot of boats with Trump flags on them. Why is that? Well, it's because there's no government program to buy a boat, right? People are tired of all these government programs. People are tired of seeing America get chipped away one little piece at a time by these progressive, they say progressive, I like to say regressive policies that they say that are trying to take us back to a time that, we had just not too long ago with President Obama. We had a election here just recently stolen from us. If you look at the numbers, President Obama, he had, 69 million votes. And supposedly Joe Biden had 81 million votes. Yeah. That's 11. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, we're not. We're with you. We're not buying that. Let me ask you, use the phrase shovel in the ground. We got a couple of minutes. Tell people about yourself. Give us your story.
My name's Kyle LaBrue. I'm a business owner, and I'm a father of 3, and I believe in the American dream. I believe that if people want to make America great again, we have to get in and actually do things. On a local level, you got to get involved in your church. You got to get involved in your city. You got to get involved in your communities and your school boards. Particularly, we got to protect our children from this CRT and all this awful gender confusion stuff they're trying to teach us right now. our children on a local level. I mean, Americans have to get involved to change things.
Kyle, you're a successful businessman, entrepreneur. You got a lovely family. You got 3 great kids. Once again, I'm going to ask you, I got about a minute. Why would any rational human being get involved in this when they're going to try to tear your face off, destroy your character, all that, the politics of personal destruction? Why are you doing it, Kyle?
It's really simple. The answer is I believe in America, and I don't like the way that the Biden's policies are taking us. I don't like the way that these liberals are taking our country. And if you don't get involved, all you're going to do is just watch it get destroyed. So for me, I'm ready to make changes. I'm ready to be the voice that isn't silent. I'm ready to be the person that will say what the average person is really thinking. You know, the silent majority is tired of being silent. We're ready to be as loud as we can be to get our country back.
Kyle, how do people find out more about you and how do they find out more about your campaign?
KyleLaBrue.com is my webpage, and then I'm on Twitter and I'm on Facebook as well at Kyle LaBrue for Congress.
Kyle, thank you very much. Honored to have you on here. Fight on, sir.
Thank you for your time, Steve. Thank you for your voice.
Thank you, brother. Boris, give us your social media. You've been on fire the entire time. By the way, if we're going to take this country back, those are the types of fighters. You need authenticity. You need fight. Right. You need the ability to take political pain. Boris, give us your social media, particularly the morning letter you put out every day.
Kyle's my kind of guy. Morning letter is the hottest out there, coming in hot. BorisCP.com. Go sign up right now. BorisCP.com. Hot on Getter at BorisCP. Hot on Twitter at BorisCP. Of course, Truth Social at Boris. And the hottest on the gram, Boris_Epshteyn. Stay strong. God bless. And I'll see you tomorrow with the calendar.
Now, here's what, Boris. Okay. The 6 o'clock show is so hot. I think we're going to have to do the calendar in the morning because the 6 o'clock show just gets so jammed with news of the day and great personalities and the issues. So, okay, brother. By the way, Capitol Police, no threat to the Capitol, just reporting on the disclosed TV just came out. No threat to the Capitol. Okay, see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. You'll be back in the war room.